Laura and we dated for a year before I proposed. I wanted to act quickly because I was afraid she'd get away. So we were married for about 3 years before we decided to have kids, and we chose to go the adoption route at first because it was something that was always really close to our hearts. And so we got Elizabeth.
We adopted our daughter Elizabeth when she was a newborn. When she was 2 months old, we found out we were pregnant. Donovan was born when Elizabeth was 10 months old.
Donovan was really cranky for a baby. We weren't entirely sure why, but we knew that maybe something wasn't quite right. And then at his 4-week checkup, the doctor noticed that he was floppy and that he wasn't moving the way that he was supposed to be moving. And some answers kind of came together as to why was he cranky, why he wasn't able to eat. As a nurse, I knew just enough to be dangerous. I knew that with the symptoms that he was having, it wasn't going to be something that was going to go away overnight. This was likely going to be a very lifelong thing.
Spinal muscular atrophy was kind of the worst case scenario.
You have a gene, it's called the survival motor neuron gene. What it does is it allows your muscles to grow and it allows your nerves to grow. Donovan was born without it, and so his muscles die and his nerves deteriorate, but the brain is completely fine. So he is mentally with it, happy, smiling kid with a body that just does not work.
They told us there's not much you can do for him. Take him home, love him. The vast majority of kids with this diagnosis don't live beyond the age of 2. I was like, I don't care if he walks, I don't care if he is typical, I don't care if he is smart, I just want to keep him. If you've never been through something like that, I don't even know how to explain what that's like. It was our worst case scenario, but it ended up being a good time to get the diagnosis of SMA, if that is even possible.
There was a clinical trial that was running. It's a gene therapy trial. There were a total of 15 slots, 14 were full. Donovan was in consideration to be the 15th. The SMN1 gene that he is missing, they took a virus and they take all the bad stuff out of that virus. They take the gene, thrust it in there, and then they inject billions of virus through an IV into Donovan. But it's a Trojan horse and we tricked the virus, so it's actually doing is helping instead of hurting. So it gave Donovan all of that gene back that he's missing. What we don't know is how long does it last? Did the virus get everywhere that it's supposed to get? There's a lot that we're still learning.
He's vastly exceeded the expectations that anyone had for him when he was diagnosed. It's allowed him to achieve some milestones that have never been seen in kids with his disease.
Instead of degenerating, he's actually growing.
But the future is still unknown. With that has come a lot of stress and appointments and therapy.
The medical process is almost completely taken over our family. When does the kid get a chance to be a kid? He's only awake so many hours, and his days are almost completely full of treatments, and Elizabeth is just there watching. Diagnoses like Donovan tend to tear families apart, and I didn't want his legacy to be a torn apart family.
We learned about a kid again through a family that has a child with the same diagnosis as Donovan.
They told us about all the fun things that they let families do, siblings get involved, parents get involved. The first event that we attended as a family, it was the most fun I think that these kids have had since they've been born. Donovan got to put rings on bunny ears. Elizabeth was dancing with all of the volunteers. It's a side of her that I don't get to see that often because we don't get to provide that kind of thing. When a kid gets a terminal diagnosis, the siblings are really the ones that get forgotten about. And Elizabeth, she just cries and sits under a blanket. And I ask her what's wrong, and she says, I'm just worried that Donovan's gonna be okay. She's 3 years old. That's not the kind of thing that you think a 3-year-old should be thinking about. That's her day-to-day life. And then again, a kid event gets to come. And so she gets a few hours out of the day where she just gets to be a kid and she gets to love life. The rest of our lives, we don't know where we fit in. Nothing is catered to us. We have to call ahead everywhere. And so when we got to go to a crew game, and he gets to have his face painted and he gets to meet Crew Cat. There was a tailgate that was all catered to special needs. We didn't feel out of place at all. It was something that really showed me that even though Donovan has this diagnosis, maybe our life doesn't actually need to stop.
I think that there's something unique about families that have a seriously ill child, and that is that they really know how to enjoy the good times.
Kid Again goes to so much effort to plan and make sure they don't forget any detail. It's all just catered to us.
All the work's already been done and we can just show up and have a good time.
It's all handicap accessible, everyone's smiling, they're happy to see us, we have the other families that are happy to see us. It feels like we're right at home. We develop friendships every time we go, and it's the most worthwhile thing as a family that we do. Elizabeth and Donovan get to have fun in a way that they don't get to have fun otherwise. It's unique. Without a Kid Again, we wouldn't be able to do that.
If we didn't have a Kid Again events to look forward to, it would be harder to have the kind of hope that we have, that even though our family is different, even though our life is different, we will have happy days.
It's the quality of life that a Kid Again gives, and it needs to be more places. It needs to be more than just Columbus. It needs to spread. It's vital.